The Motorola Moto Z has arrived, and we will have a closer look because it's really a beauty. I have the first test results for you, and especially we go a little bit into deeper of the specification because I found something that's a little different than Motorola has told on the IFA. But let's first start with the optics because I really love the design on the backside. This metal frame looking very classy and making it very stable. So if you see I'm winding here, you do not hear anything. And let me go to black so that you can see for yourself. There is a little movement, of course, but nothing where the glass is pressing down onto the panel. You would see white or black dots, and that might damage the pixels or others of the electronics. So this is really stable, even if it's just 5.2 millimeters. It's really true. Measure it for myself. Everywhere here, 5.2 millimeters. Just where the camera comes out with the optical image stabilizer, there we have 7.1 millimeters and 138 grams. So I love the design, even if, I know, some of you already told me, that's impossible. We have USB Type-C, but nowhere here any headphone jack. I wouldn't buy a phone without. So be quiet, I'd say, because first it comes with this little adapter, Type-C, so you can plug it in both ways, like this or like that. And on the other side, of course, 3.5 millimeters. So I tried it out. It's no problem for me personally, at least. I just leave this on the headphone cable and wind it up all together with it and just have to plug in this one now. So it's the same without any problem like that headphone jack originally. So I do not see the problem, guys. But of course, I do not want to tell what you have to decide. This is your decision, of course. Just for me personally, I wouldn't throw away a phone because like this only, at least. Then coming to specifications, because I checked up here the processor. Yes, it's the Snapdragon 820 like promised, but it's a little bit different in clock rates. Look at this one here. We have been told 2.2, and that's not true. We have 1.6 and 1.8 gigahertz. So not the top quality like, for example, HTC 10 or LG G5. Those are in the benchmark's overall result 67% above the average. And this one here, the Moto Z, is 43% above. So it's rapid, it's quick, it's completely enough for most of you, I'd say. But on the other hand, it's not the top notch. And I guess I know why. Because even when I just installed some apps over here, it got really warm. Not hot, no problem, I'd say, but really warm, some 40 degrees, I'd say. So I imagine if they have inserted the Snapdragon 820 with 2.2 gigahertz, this would have been a problem and getting really warm because it's so thin, you cannot have the heat gun somewhere, I guess. So this was a decision. You have 43 instead of 67% above the average. So there is a difference, of course, yes, but I guess it's not really significant for most of you. But we will have a separate check-up game check with this one here and play a little bit with Dead Trigger 2. And we see if there is a difference in the frames per second rate, and if so, how big this will be. The display, just for those of you who do not remember, it's 5.46 inch or 139 millimeters, 1440 by 2560 pixels. So coming to a density of 538 ppi. 538 ppi, that's 70% above the average. So really crisp and sharp. And it's bright. I measured here on white in the middle of the screen 526 nits. That's 53% above the average for OLED. This is Super AMOLED, of course. So just in bright sunlight you have to see. If it's really bright, then you have 526 ppi. If you are in closed room like this one now, you will have up to 332 nits. That's 8% below the average, but you do not need any more in closed rooms like this one, and you save battery, of course, with that. So absolutely great display here. And with the cameras, yes, we have 13 megapixels, video in 4K on the backside, like I told you, optical image stabilizer, dual tone flash here. On the front, it's surprisingly just 5, not 8 megapixels, video in full HD, but you have a front flash. So in my opinion, it's better to have 5 megapixels with a front LED instead of 8 megapixels without. So just for me, my personal opinion. And you have 32 gigabyte internal memory, leaving net 21.1. That's the value you should remind, 21.1 gigabyte, but you can expand it here with micro SD up to 2 terabyte without any limitations. You have 4G, Wi-Fi AC, NFC, it's Android 601. You have that fingerprint sensor here, but by the way, it's just fingerprint, just capacitive, no mechanical button or something, and especially it's no home button. This is only really for fingerprint, and the rest is absolutely stock Android like we know it from Motorola. They just put one app, the Moto app, to have some additional features on the phone, just like this one, for example. If you come close, you do not have to shake or take it, just come close, and then you will have that info screen like we know it from former Motorola devices. I really like this feature here. And coming to, last but not least, the battery runtime, because this one was one thing I had really a little bit worried about, because, you know, 5.2 millimeters, 2600 milliamps at a 5.5-inch display. Well, but don't be worried, I tested it. We have 532 minutes runtime. That's 8% above the average, meaning it brings all regular users absolutely through the day, maybe even through the second. Heavy users will have to recharge, I guess, in most cases, not every time, but if you, depending on how intense you use it. But this is a good result for such a thin and sleek phone with just 2600 milliamps battery. Last but not least, I brought one of the mods because I wanted to show a little bit more. Because first of all, this is the JBL stereo speaker mod. You have on the back side here, you see you can charge the internal battery separately. Of course, it will be charged if you have the phone attached here, but if you want to, you can have this one that's going then quicker. And especially here, LED, this white dot, this little one over here, indicating the charging and the battery status. So this is really something you can use. But the thing I was a little bit worried about is how powerful are the magnetic things you see attached right now. It's no problem. And kids at home, please do not do this, because it's really standing explicitly in the manual here of that speaker. Do not touch it on the stand. Just touch it here and move it, remove it over there. But now for this test, I wanted to know, is it possible to shake off the phone? Because this is really much more heavy than the Moto Z. Is the magnetic lock strong enough? And I'm really trying here. Sometimes I did it, just 1 or 2 times. Yeah, here we are. But you see, you really have to use a lot of power. You won't do that in everyday life. So I guess it's absolutely strong enough for regular usage and the way you should do it. And by the way, you can nevertheless use the camera. There is no shadow or something from that backside. You know, you have these other mods with a bigger battery. You have the Hasselblad mod. We will have to see this, of course, in a separate camera shootout with a compact camera. Still takes some days because I need that camera. And we will have, of course, a separate sound check video with the sound here of these stereo speakers and the Moto Z. So more to come. This is just a first impression here that you can see a little bit closer than on the IFA, the beauty of the Motorola Moto Z. Thanks for watching, take care, and bye.